Jordan?
Yep, no, I heard you. I was, I had to, refresh the stream because I dropped out. Anyway, we're good now. Yeah, so you tell them about the undead woman that attacked you. Let's see. I'm sure you guys go into some amount of depth, and, like, they're just very one- or two-word answers, but... the leader guy of the troop that you were with now, you explained it to him, and he arches an eyebrow and he says, "You have had a very interesting trip. It seems that you have come across a wayward spirit that wishes you harm.
A what?
Spirit that wishes you harm.
Oh,
You said
yeah.
it. You said it went after you.
Yeah, me and Jericho.
Have you recently wronged someone in some
Mel
way?"
just kind of like looks over at Raka and he's like, "Well, if anyone would do it."
Really? But I'm not. Well, no, wait, hold on.
Innocent of all wrongdoing, and Raka is an innocent sweet cinnamon roll of a delight. He
I'm
would
wrong.
wrong nobody except bandits and, I guess, monsters.
The spirits do not.
Wait.
Spirits do not care whether or not how they live their life. They seek vengeance.
So you think it was a bandit ghost that came after us? Because that's a first.
He shrugs and he says, "Well, I do not know the full story, but you have something that haunts you. It will follow you.
That much I had figured out, thank you.
It will follow you and forever. Its
Ah.
life is infinite, yours is not."
Well, that's good to know.
Oh, I'm always gonna have company.
Murderous company, Raka. Murderous company. Whatever happened to... Oh, man.
It's still company.
We have to write back to Jebedo and get some more holy backup.
Speaking of which,
so so you guys know, Talagrad is the town at the base of the mountains that surrounds... Talagrad is the town at the base of the mountains that surrounds Talabheim. And it is essentially at the base of the only path that leads to Talabheim. There's one path. It's called the Wizard's Way, and it's essentially the only way to get into the city itself. So the town is kind of like, it's pretty large, pretty wealthy, but there's a lot of like history there between. It's like the border town, right? It's like the last post. It's like a base camp, right, for Mount Everest. So it's like the last place you can stop before making the crossing up the Wizard's Way and across over the mountains to get to Talabheim. So it's like a medium-sized town with the gravitas of a city itself. If you were looking for a place to find a lot of people and what to do.
Is there a jeweler?
There more than likely is, yeah. You can find almost anything in Talagrad that you can find in a major city. Maybe not some like specialized things, like, you know, like the King's blacksmith isn't going to be here or anything like that. But basic stuff, yeah, pretty much anything you want can come from Talagrad.
Okay.
So it takes you 2 days to journey over there, and even though you are in the accompaniment of these individuals from the Knights of the Stag, that does cross us into another week. So let me open up my spreadsheet here.
Do I get my hit dice?
Yes, it's been 2 days. And
good.
you do
And that
receive
means
your
that
hit dice
Jericho
back.
can 24.
Yeah.
I'm once again
And-
still at full.
7 gold, right?
Yeah, let me open up my lifestyle expenses here. Cool.
Oh, did you level
So,
up?
Deidrin is dead. This is week number 8, by the way.
Mhm.
Wait, what about
Wolfram has
level
been
1?
paying for poor.
I think I missed something here.
Wait, I apologize. Did you level up? I
Last one.
apologize profusely. What did you choose for your 4th level? We'll backtrack real quick.
No worries. Well, it didn't count until I got a long rest, but 4th level is pretty simple. So boosted dexterity, that's now capped at 20, and my new 2nd level spell is that lesser restoration that we've been desperately needing for months.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
Very good.
You're welcome.
So you've got lesser restoration, and your dexterity is now at 20. Correct.
thank you, Healbot.
You're welcome, Meat Shield.
Exactly. Awesome. So Wolfram's going to continue on his poor lifestyle. Man, he's got a lot of gold. Let's see here. That is 7, 7, 7.
I think he'd like to go aristocratic this week.
Raka, you've been living modestly. Are you going to continue that?
Yes, I am.
Okay, cool. That's 7 gold. Milo,
Alright.
you've also been living modestly.
How much was the one above modest?
It would be 14 gold, and that would be comfortable.
Yeah, why not? Around a big city, I'll splash out a bit more.
Yeah, spend a
You know
little
what,
bit more
he's-
money, get recognized a little bit more.
He's right. I would like to go comfortable too.
Alright, cool. Awesome. Jericho, you've been living your modest lifestyle the entire time.
I'm sticking with modestly. Jericho doesn't really know how to splurge yet in his life.
Okay. Zetch, the quiet one, who I haven't heard speak literally the entire time we've been playing.
Sorry, I'm having an issue with my computer right now.
Yeah, you
I'll
sound fine.
forgive you one time.
Keeping with my previous.
Modest, so that's 7 gold. Male, modest.
Yeah, Male's not a very extravagant person. He
Okay, cool. Excellent. We'll save that now that that's taken care of. So, you arrive in Talagrad. I would venture to guess that Male, you've probably been in this area before. And you know a little bit about the area. Talagrad is actually still, it's kind of under the long arm of Talabheim. Typically there's Talabheim guards and Talabheim dignitaries that run the town because they have to coordinate between, you know, crossing the Wizard's Way with supplies and stuff that's needed. So the first thing that seems out of place to you, and the others you recognize this, although they may not be able to put 2 and 2 together, is these Knights of the Stag, who are easily identified. They all appear to be, if they had classes, they all appear to be rangers and druids, and there's probably a couple priests around, a couple clerics maybe. They all appear to have that brand, not always on their head, sometimes on their arm, but it's always visible where they have it. And there appears to be quite a number of them, especially leading in the areas leading up to Talagrad. And even when you get to Talagrad, it's not a walled town, but at the major entrances, you see patrols who are Knights of the Stag. They're actually patrolling, as opposed to what would normally be like the town guard or something like that. Oh, hey, it was only 30 minutes. That's amazing. Alright, you ready for this, guys? Hold on. Hey, Wolfram,
Okay.
You're in custody, and the headsman's axe is about to drop. What do you do?
I kick the headsman in the balls.
Awesome. You actually are in custody, though.
I
Awesome.
would like to point out that I did my best to get you out of it.
Pretty cool.
I had you stripped.
Yeah, Wolfram, the only thing you need to know is that that individual who accosted you and accused you of being tainted by chaos has taken your weapons. You're still free to move around. You're not bound or anything, and your friends are traveling with you, but you have no weapons currently.
Okay.
And they are taking you to Talagrad, which is the town at the base of the Wizard's Way that leads into Talabheim. And
Okay.
essentially the conversation went down like this. The individual and his friends who were hiding in the bushes around you said that you needed to be taken and judged by the judge in Talagrad. So your fate is... Well, they assumed that your fate is in their hands. As we all know, this is Dungeons & Dragons, and the fate is always in the hands of the player.
Awesome.
You guys have been cordial with them so far? You haven't, tried to stab them or anything yet?
Yeah, that might
Unfortunately.
change.
So,
I'm just saying, I got your back, buddy. Goliath Brothers for life.
So, in continuing, you guys arrive in Talagrad, and Talagrad has a lot of manors and mansions in it. It's not just like small huts and towns, although those are around. A lot of the people who live around Talagrad are farmers, but it's a very wealthy city or wealthy town because of all the trade that it does to and from Talabheim. It's kind of like the port of Talabheim, if you want to consider it that. It is set on the river. So it's like the port of Talabheim, quite wealthy, and there are a lot of manors and stuff around. However, there's one building in the center that is quite large, and it's almost like a dome-shaped building. And when you guys arrive at the city outskirts, and you can see this, the individual whose name is Garrett, he tells you that he probably doesn't talk to Wolfram. He probably talks to doesn't feel like talking to Raka. He probably talks to Jericho because that's the party face. He talks to Jericho and he says, "That is where your companion will be judged." As he kind of head nods to the large dome-shaped building that's kind of set almost dead center of the town that you're in.
And how does this judging process work? Who exactly is going to decide what his fate is supposed to be?
He says, one of the Council of Tal will judge him. They will look into his being and see if he is truly tainted.
Sounds like fun.
Am I there?
Yeah, he's not making any
with us.
Ability to hide that conversation.
So wait, you just said that your dog was foolproof, right?
He has never. I said that he had never been wrong before.
Okay, but you're saying this dude can prove it wrong.
Just possible.
All right.
Though not probable.
Sure.
Not to be disrespectful at all, but how are we to know that this looking into his being is an accurate representation of our friend and not a corrupt system?
So he looks at you and he says, "The God of Tal has never led us astray. He acts through the council."
Right. It's not so much the god Tao that I'm questioning here. Far be it from me to question any sort of god. I'm just wondering how we know we can trust the council.
Yeah, because the council isn't made up of a god, right?
I mean, if you have a god for your council, that's pretty amazing, and I'd like to meet them.
Yeah, me too.
He says,
Brother.
so essentially what I'm gathering from this is you guys are kind of questioning his religion a little bit.
I'm questioning the
Yeah,
hierarchy.
let's say the religion.
Not really the religion, but more. This whole thing is run by people.
The bureaucracy.
So
Yeah.
you get the impression he gets a little bit standoffish, and he says the council are the arms of Tal. Or no, he says the fingers. Sorry, he says the council are the fingers of Tal. They are
Those
the
are
closest
huge
ones
fingers.
to him.
Well, no offense, but
Anyone in this area is under their guise.
well, no offense, but there's been a lot of quote-unquote representatives of their gods, and they have taken matters into their own hands.
then Tala would strike them down if it was not his will.
We're not gonna get anything out of this dude.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
So, who wants to do a public performance in which we ask Tal to strike us down on the spot if we get tainted?
Yeah, raise my girl. I'm not
You
worried
know,
about
if Jebido is still in
It'd
the
be pretty
party,
fun.
that'd be pretty easy since he is a paladin of Tal.
Yeah. You know, raise my girl, not tall. Right for life.
Do you say that out loud? Do you say that you're a follower of Rice? Or Rice?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you say that, he says, she is a worthy goddess.
She has to kick ass. She gave me this shit, and then I pull out my chalice.
He inspects it, he says, it is well made.
Yeah,
Keep it close to you.
ass! Do you see
Amazing.
this? Do you see how much ass it's kicking?
He kind of raises an eyebrow, and he hurries a few steps away from Raka as to end the conversation.
Get back here. This thing kicks ass.
Yes, Raka, the chalice kicks a lot of ass.
So, you guys
Wait,
are
do you
walking
want to
through
buy some
town,
gems?
and you ask him, he ignores you. He ignores you for the rest of the trip, actually, to the Judiciary Hall. So, again, as you travel through the town, there is a very big presence of these Knights of the Stag. And a much lower presence of commoners that may be patrolling the streets. It seems like a lot of windows are closed up, and we're in what would be mid-February. So it's nice out. It's a little bit cooler in this part of the world, being so close to the mountains. It's a little bit higher elevation. So there's like kind of a nice crisp breeze. Not cold enough to have to put winter gear on, but definitely coming off the river and then kind of swelling up against the mountains. This place definitely feels like it gets a lot of rain or snow when it is that time. And in fact, if you gaze off to the east, and you do see like the looming peaks of the crater that surrounds Talabheim. So yeah, and you can see that there's some snow-capped tops up there. Maybe about half of the mountain is covered. But as you guys are traveling through, there's a distinctive lack of commoners. You travel through kind of like a central like market square area, and there's just a few stalls kind of set up. But the guy who's leading you, Garrett, he nods to a lot of the individuals. He stops and he talks with a few of them. After it seems like after the conversations, they all kind of look at you guys, glance you up and down, maybe taking note of who you are.
I pose.
Remembering your face for later, possibly.
Sure.
But
I do.
he leads you to this large judiciary hall, and it's a pretty massive building. It's maybe 100 feet by maybe like 75, 80 feet wide. It is a large stone structure, but it is shaped like a dome. And he leads you through these double doors, and they kind of creak open. And this building is basically just one room. So it's massive, and it's got these large stone columns that kind of rise all the way up to the ceiling, 60 feet up or so. And there's when you enter, along the right and left hand side, there are stairs that kind of lead up to like these balconies that sit up maybe like 20 feet off the ground. And along these balconies, you see there are some individuals there, and they have longbows strapped to their back, and they kind of appear to just be hanging out. But as you enter, their eyes kind of fall on you, and they appear to get up from their game of cards or whatever they were playing, and they're a little more attentive now. In front of you stands a figure who's in plate armor, and he's got a large greatsword strapped to his back. His helm is off and kind of underneath his arm, and he greets you, and you can see that there's a tabard that he's wearing that has a large symbol of Tal on it. So he greets you. He greets Garrett, actually, and he says, Well, Garrett, we did not expect you. What have you here? And Garrett explains to him, he says that, well, my companion sensed the chaos, the taint of chaos on this one.
As he like motions towards me, I give a wave.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So
I put his hand down and go, "You don't say hi to people; they attack you."
he kind of, his eyes narrow and he kind of looks you up and down. And he says, "Well, we will see what the council has to say about that." And he says, "And the others?" He's talking to Garrett, and Garrett says, they're his companions. They insisted on accompanying him. And so you notice that the knight figure kind of stiffens a little bit, because you guys are a lot of armed folk that have just entered his domain. And he's flanked by these two individuals with like spears. And they look like maybe former town militia, but they're wearing Tal's colors. They don't have a brand on them yet, but you assume that this might be part of the process very soon. And he says, "Very well, follow me, Garrett. You can resume your post now." And Garrett nods, and he kind of gives like a slight bow, and he backs out of the room. He looks like you guys have been traveling for like 2 days, and maybe he's had a few conversations with either of you, and he says, "I believe you are fine people, but it would be best to not defy the will of the council." And he just leaves on that.
Oh, Rocka, be
As soon
nice.
as like he leaves it on that, like you just see Mail like pull out his pipe from like, I guess from a side pocket and just start lighting it, and he just like kind of nods. He's like, "All right," he just continues smoking it.
So the knight leads you to kind of the center of the room, and there's a bit of rubble on the ground. You can tell the building probably needs some masonry repairs. But he leads you to the middle of the room, and you can see that there's a large dais kind of in the back of the room that's jutted up against the wall, and there's these pitchers and stuff, not pictures, pitchers like that hold water, kind of seated on these pedestals, and there's a large looks on the back wall. There looks to be a large cloth like mural. And it looks like it was hung post this building being built, and it's got a large depiction of what appears to be Tal, for any of you that know what the humanoid depiction of him looks like. And he appears to be have animals at his side, and they appear to be fighting a battle of some sort with what appear to look like denizens of chaos. And there's just blood all over the mural, not real blood, but in the picture. It's a very nice battle picture, and there is an older individual up on the dais. He's got a long beard. He's human. His head is completely shaved. He's got this grayish beard that's kind of long, maybe like down to his mid-torso. He's kind of a little bit humpback, just from maybe years of bent over praying or what have you. And he says, "Well, what have we here?" And the knight figure kind of steps up onto the dais and whispers something in his ear. And the guy's eyes narrow, and he says, "I am Councilman Darian. I am here to judge you, the big one."
There's two big ones.
Right here.
Wolfram's distinctly bigger than you are.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
So yeah, he says, He kind of looks around. He says, "Oh, you are all very well equipped."
Yes.
I gestures with this pipe.
I just say, yeah.
Very well. I will need some space if you don't mind. Your companion will be judged.
I take like literally maybe a step or two away from Wolfram.
Sure. The knight figure comes over, and he kind of like he positions you, Wolfram, kind of like in front of the dais, and then he like kind of ushers the rest of you back a few steps. But you're still fairly like you're within a stone's throw of Wolfram. The two guard-like guys, they kind of go up and stand on like the first step of the dais, and then the individual comes down and he stands in front of you, Wolfram. He says, "I will need you to kneel."
All right. Wolfram gets down. He actually sits down like on his butt, like
sure,
crisscross.
Like crisscross applesauce. Sure, why not?
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. So yeah, you sit down with a plunk, and so the individual comes up to you, and he kind of looks at you, and he says, "Interesting." And he takes a hand and he kind of places his thumb like in the middle of your forehead between your eyes, and it's like like a thumbs down symbol, and he's got his fist like leaning up against your forehead and his thumb, and he closes his eyes and begins to murmur a chant under his breath. None of you have divine magic, so you probably don't know what he's doing.
I could make an Arcana check.
I shall.
You can try. Yeah, it's gonna be harder for you. No.
Boom! It's magic.
Yeah. So Milo, you don't know the spell that he's casting. Zet, you probably have this information as well. You don't know the spell that he's casting, but it is divine magic. It appears maybe what's the school that I'm looking for? Divination. You can definitely. It's probably divination magic that he is using. So yeah.
Sure.
Now, I have a question. Let's say you guys have sat here for about 5 minutes, and this individual is still doing this. How restless would you be? Would you just be like geared into what's going on?
I think Mail would have gotten more relaxed. He like maybe found like a table, slumped his feet up against the table, just keeps on smoking his pipe, and he's like, "Well, I've got that." And like he pulls out like a bag, and it's like all the tobacco that he buys, like whenever he's traveling, and he just slips it on the table. He's like, "I got enough to last me for a whole day or two."
Raka's probably still looking at Wolfram, standing. He's just still standing away. Really moved an inch and is kind of focusing on Wolfram.
I think eventually Jericho will call out to see how Wolfram's feeling. Yeah.
Does Wolfram feel anything from this?
Well, if this guy is rummaging around inside his soul or something.
Wolfram, roll me a wisdom saving throw.
Got it.
This can only go well.
Only go well.
I can already see it's single digits.
Oh.
Well, that might be good because
Wolfram, you don't feel anything really. You've got a weird old guy with his thumb on your forehead, just kind of chanting.
I like the direction this is going. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would certainly be fine with this because I know divination magics can sometimes take a while.
Yeah.
I should probably
especially if
say
he's, casting it as a ritual or something.
Yeah.
I'm watching, but I'm not particularly like anxious or anything.
Sure.
I'm just more like looking out for a buddy.
Sure, absolutely.
At this point, I am very, very glad I sat down instead of kneeled.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Cool. So 5 minutes pass, and then 10 minutes pass. And after about 10 minutes, the chanting seems to grow a little bit in fervor. For those of you that may be looking at the old man, there's a couple of beads of sweat that start to kind of drip down. His voice kind of grows, and you see the knight-like figure kind of tense a little bit, and he seems, for the first time since you've seen him, a little bit unsure of, not himself, but of what the situation. You see he shoots like a glance at the guards that are standing on the dais, and the guards kind of like, they get a tighter grip and they begin watching what's going on.
Seeing this, Raka kind of tenses a little bit and is prepared to rage, shouldn't he be?
Sure.
Zetch does something very similar. He just grips his sword hilt.
Okay.
Male stuffs his pipe a little bit more with tobacco.
You can roll another wisdom saving throw, Wolfram.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to message you something.
Okay.
Alright, so, let's see.
Am I feeling any, like, pain, though?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. Then, depending on what you're going to send me, I might just start falling asleep. We'll see. I mean, have you ever sat and crisscross for a long time? Once your legs go to sleep, you just kind of knock off, because it's actually pretty
just a nice little nap, you know.
Yeah.
How awful would it be if I had tried to use my advantage on that Arcana check?
So,
Wolfram's gonna start freaking out a little bit.
Okay, how describe that for me.
So previously his arms were just kind of holding his legs together. Now he's gonna start scratching himself. Okay. Wherever he feels this feeling, he's just gonna start scratching himself.
Sure, absolutely.
Violently.
So another 5 minutes pass, and then another 10 minutes, and so now we're up to 20 minutes here that he's been chanting. After another 10 minutes, you guys can see that the old man is beginning to tire. The sweat is beating down his face almost profusely now. The knight-like figure, he pulls out like a rag and he goes over and he starts dabbing at the old guy's face. He doesn't have a look of like tenseness on his face. He's got a look of concern. For those of you that may look at him. But for those of you like glancing at like the archers on the balconies or the guards, they look more than concerned. They're a little bit more unable to handle. None of you say anything, right? You don't